Okay, this is our last probably 10 minutes of this book. So we left off, and Christopher had just talked about painting his mother's place with a white with a hint of wheat, and he had paint in his hair, and they cut it out with a pair of scissors after 5 days. And we're going to pick up where he says there were more bad things than good things. Another bad thing was that Toby died because he was 2 years and 7 months old, which is very old for a rat. And I said I wanted to bury him, but Mother didn't have a garden, so I buried him in a big plastic pot of earth, like the pot you put a plant in. And I said I wanted another rat, but Mother said I couldn't have one because the room was too small. And I solved the puzzle because I worked out that there were two bolts inside the puzzle and there were tunnels with metal rods in them, like this. And you had to hold the puzzle so that both rods slid into the end of their tunnels and they weren't crossing the intersection between the two pieces of the puzzle, and then you could pull them apart. And Mother picked me up from Father's house one day after she had finished work, and Father said, "Christopher, can I have a talk with you?" And I said, "No." And Mother said, "It's okay, I'll be here." And I said, "I don't want to talk to Father." And Father said, "I'll do you a deal." And he was holding the kitchen timer, which was a big plastic tomato sliced through the middle. And he twisted it and it started ticking. And he said, 5 minutes, okay? That's all. Then you can go. So I sat on the sofa and he sat on the armchair and Mother was in the hallway and Father said, "Christopher, look, things can't go on like this. I don't know about you, but this just hurts too much. You being in the house but refusing to talk to me. You have to learn to trust me, and I don't care how long it takes. If it's a minute one day and 2 minutes the next and 3 minutes the next and it takes years, I don't care. Because this is important. This is more important than anything else." And then he tore a little strip of skin away from the side of his thumbnail on his left hand. And then he said, let's call it a project we have to do together. You have to spend more time with me, and I have to show you that you can trust me. And it will be difficult at first because it's a difficult project, but it will get better, I promise. Then he rubbed the sides of his forehead with his fingertips and he said, "You don't have to say anything, not right now. You just have to think about it. And I've got you a present to show you that I really mean what I say and to say sorry. And because, well, you'll see what I mean." Then he got out of the armchair and he walked over to the kitchen door and opened it. And there was a big cardboard box on the floor and there was a blanket in it. And he bent down and put his hands inside the box and he took out a little sandy colored dog. Then he came back through and he gave me the dog and he said, "He's 2 months old and he's a golden retriever." And the dog sat in my lap and I stroked it, and no one said anything for a while. Then Father said, "Christopher, I would never ever do anything to hurt you." Then no one said anything. Then Mother came into the room and said, "You won't be able to take him away with you, I'm afraid. The bed sits too small. But your father's going to look after him here, and you can come and take him out for walks whenever you want." And I said, "Does he have a name?" And Father said, "No, you can decide what to call him." And the dog chewed my finger. And then it was 5 minutes and the tomato alarm went. So Mother and I drove back to her room. And the next week there was a lightning storm and the lightning hit a big tree in the park near Father's house and knocked it down, and men came and cut the branches up with chainsaws and carried the logs away on a lorry. And all that was left was a big black pointed stump made of carbonized wood. Then I got the results of my A level and I got an A grade, which is the best result, and it made me feel like this. And it's a happy face. And I called the dog Sandy. And Father bought him a collar and a lead, and I was allowed to take him for walks to the shop and back, and I played with him with a rubber bone. And Mother got flu, and I had to spend 3 days with Father and stay in his house, but it was okay because Sandy slept on my bed so he would bark if anyone came into the room during the night. And Father made a vegetable patch in the garden, and I helped him. And we planted carrots and peas and spinach, and I'm going to pick them and eat them when they're ready. And I went to a bookshop with Mother and I bought a book called Further Maths for A Level. And Father told Mrs. Gascoigne that I was going to take A Level Further Maths next year, and she said okay. And I'm going to pass it and get an A grade. And in 2 years' time, I'm going to take A Level Physics and get an A grade. And then when I've done that, I'm going to go to university in another town. And it doesn't have to be in London because I don't like London. And there are universities in lots of places, and not all of them are in big cities. And I can live in a flat with a garden and a proper toilet. And I can take Sandy and my books and my computer. And then I will get a first class honors degree and I will become a scientist. And I know I can do this because I went to London on my own and because I solved the mystery of who killed Wellington. And I found my mother and I was brave and I wrote a book, and that means I can do anything. And that is the end. There is an appendix where he does all kinds of math, and shows you how he solved them. So this would be an ideal time to think about Christopher and things that he learned, the way that he changed and grew, and in some ways became more aware of his abilities, but also recognized in some ways some limitations. And I think we've all, to some degree or another, had similar experiences in our own lives when we kind of realize, you know, after going through some things, and just growing and experiencing sometimes challenges, where we can draw on our strengths and where we have areas that, um, limit us to some degree. So those are some good things to try to capture at this point, in your own thinking. And tomorrow we'll be explaining what we're going to ask you to do as a way to wrap up this unit. So I hope you all have a good day. I missed our Zoom time together, but I needed to help my daughter pack up her college dorm, apartment, and I'll be back at it tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing y'all. Have a good day.